service to our community. In the name of Jesus, amen.
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 Pledge allegiance
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. So we'll do a roll call. Jerry Frush is here. Diane Quantz.
I'm here, and then I'm going to mute, and if everybody else would too, I'm getting a lot of background noise.
Mike Clondaris is here. Jeff Gross.
Present.
Cindy Dobbins is here in the building. Jack Wilhite.
Present.
All right. Who else is on? Is the city attorney on?
Did he say?
Yes, sir.
All right. Josh Finch.
Present?
Okay. And then is Jeremy on? No, he's not. Okay. All right. So first item of business will be the approval of the minutes from the April 17th meeting. And that meeting, the minutes have been presented.
And I've read the minutes just to make sure I was counted present. So
Right.
I would make a motion to approve.
I would second it.
All right, hang on just a second. I made an error, it wasn't April 17th, it was the 20th. I was on the Board of Works looking at the other, so it's April 20th, the minutes from the April 20th meeting. All right, motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All right, we'll do a roll call vote. Diane Quantz,
Aye.
Jerry Frush,
Aye.
Mike Clondaris.
Aye.
Josh Finch,
Aye.
Jeff Gross,
Aye.
Jack Wilhite,
Aye.
Cindy Dobbins.
Aye.
All right. Motion passes. There is no recognition of visitors here tonight, so we'll move on to reports, oral and written communications. We'll start with the Mediacom franchise fee report. Lynn, any comments? Looks like a whopping $320 for the first quarter of 2020.
Stays pretty steady.
Okay. All right, any questions on that? All right. We'll do a little bit of an update locally here. Last Friday, I signed another executive order for stay-home pay for 2 more weeks. That would be through next Friday, and that would actually be the end of the 60 days that the ordinance provided. So if we go any beyond that, we will have that back to the council. I don't anticipate that that will happen. I feel pretty confident that, and we'll talk a little bit in a minute about what the city's going to be doing, but I just want you all to be aware that these next 2 weeks will be the final 2 weeks of that order, as far as I can tell. So that's the plan right now. And again, if we had to extend it, we would have to bring that back for your approval. So we huddled with the department heads on Friday at 3:30, right after the governor finished up and presented his stages, his 5 stages for recovery. Had a chance to take a look at that. I've got some flexibility on what we do actually here within the city itself as far as our municipal buildings. What we're doing this week is getting plexiglass shields in place. We're getting supplies ordered, PPE, sanitizers. We're working arrangements at all the departments to separate some workers so that there's plenty of distance when all the workers come back. So this week we're kind of making arrangements to have the employees come back next Monday, and then and we're gonna go tomorrow, have another department head meeting and make sure that all our plan is set. We have to have a plan presented to our employees that talks about our safety and our precautions and what we're going to do. So we will start back next week. And then as far as opening the building to the public, I'm not going to give a date just yet. We've still got just a little bit more planning to do. We will still, whatever we do, even if we don't unlock the doors, we'll still meet by appointment. We've kind of been doing that anyway. But as far as opening the doors, that's the next level of adaptation that we'll have to make to be able to accommodate the public in all of our buildings. So we're kind of taking it a step at a time. The governor's stage 2, an executive order, I think it's 20-26, is only for stage 2, and it only goes for 2 weeks. So we're kind of looking at it that way. If we move on to stage 3, that ramps up the number of folks that can be at a social gathering, private or public. And then there's way too many details for me to sit here and recite. The state website has got a wonderful site that talks about the different stages and breaks down everything, gives the reasons for what will guide those movements to the next stages. And I think that's reading that we should all do. The one thing I wanted to talk about tonight was a lot of this is going to be predicated on how we all react, not just here at our city employees, but throughout the community. I've had a lot of calls. I know it was everybody kind of was breathing a sigh of relief that maybe we're starting to head back to normal, and a lot of people are out. The weather was nice, but I got a lot of calls about people not wearing masks when they go into retail stores. There were a lot of gatherings where people weren't practicing social distancing, and just kind of seems like everybody took a little bit of sigh of relief and kind of forgot that we're just an outbreak away from going back to where we were, and that's how serious this still is. I think we've all done a marvelous job, and that's why we're where we're at right now. But I sure don't think we can let our foot off the gas, and I think that utilizing masks is probably one of the ways we can all help. Washing our hands. I know we talked at our press conference last couple weeks about setting up distribution of masks at the fire station. I talked to the chief. We were out again this morning, and one of the groups came and provided another 70. I think we've got 4 groups that are bringing masks into the Center Street Fire Station for the use for the public, and they seem to be utilizing the masks as far as people coming in, and we can't keep them on the shelves. So it's a good way to distribute masks. I think I said when we first announced that program, we can distribute masks, but we can't make people wear them. And I'm asking folks, when you're out and you go into a public area, as far as a retail especially, please have your masks on. Watch your social distance, keep your hands clean. Don't take a lot of people into the store. It's still pretty similar behavior to what we've kind of gotten to this point. We need to continue that. So I know next week restaurants will be opening or have the ability to open on the 11th, as well as beauty shops and bars, not bars, personal beauty shops, barber shops, that kind of thing. So there will be more retail slowly opening, but those retails do have to have a plan to protect their employees and then certainly protect the public. And when the public comes in, it's as much incumbent on them to wear their mask and keep their social distances. And I know it's hard to do. It's easy to go up and give somebody a hug you haven't seen in a while, but that's where we're going to run into trouble if we don't stay diligent with a lot of what's going on with the personal protective equipment and the behaviors that I think have gotten us to this point. So I would just ask again that we all are diligent about wearing our masks when we're in the retail environment. keep our distances when we're outside. And let's get through these next 4 stages, if you will. We're stage 2 now. The governor's kind of looking towards July 4th to maybe be back to normal. But there's way too much that has to happen or not happen between now and then.
So Mayor, I have a question. When people come to the city hall, do you want them to wear a mask when the doors do open, are they going to be required to wear a mask?
Yes.
Okay.
And we are in the process right now of putting that protocol together. Again, I told you we're kind of emphasizing right now getting our employees back into the offices and making it safe for them. And then the second part of that is the protocols that we're going to have for when the public opens. But I feel very certain that we will require masks when anybody comes into City Hall. So, again, we're in the process of installing plexiglass shields. We've got hand sanitizers all over the place. As you can tell, our council chamber is set up in a much less densely, much less dense arrangement than it's been. So, those are just the adjustments we're going to make that are going to probably end up lasting us for quite some time. So, the other thing that was announced.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Yeah, this is Jack. I was just curious if any of the other council members had received that where we are now, the staging document that Stacy has sent out. If not, I can send that out to everyone.
I think she sent that out Friday afternoon. That was the document I was talking about that came from the state.
And I read it on the state website.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks, Jack. I appreciate that. Something else that came up Friday was that the governor has designated $300 million to local units of government, so that would be cities, towns, and counties, for relief, primarily for reimbursement for PPE and any COVID-related expenses. And we've talked to the department heads about keeping those details and those records. We learned more about that today. Each city will be set aside a certain amount, but we'll have to make claims for those amounts. So the state will review those claims and issue checks based on the claims. So we don't have to worry about going through that federal process. We'll still be subject to audit. Wes was talking about that today, as was SBA was talking about that it will be an auditable thing. So we'll have to be careful about that. There is also possibility that we can utilize some of those funds to purchase PPE for some businesses to try and work through that. So a lot of the rules haven't come down yet. We're still waiting, but there is some relief coming for COVID-related expenses and potentially helping some of our partners, some of our not-for-profit partners who are having some pretty tough times. So there'll be more to come on that. And a kind of a side note, I think you guys saw last Thursday or Friday, Okra awarded Kosciuszko County through KEDCO, I think it was $245,000 of emergency relief funds for small businesses. So that's added to what you all approved at our last meeting. And I know, I also got an update, I think today there have been 8 approvals on our loans. There have been more applications sent in, so I think what we did is resonating, and I don't have the information. Board of Works passed Friday the approval to release those funds, so those funds will get to KEDCO, and then we'll see who got those awards.
Have all those been for the maximum amount?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I just kind of got an update that there have been plenty of applications for those loans. So, again, I appreciate all of your consideration in doing that. So, all right, any other questions? Again, we're kind of taking it a week.
Yeah, this is Diane.
Okay?
I was just curious, are we assessing penalties on late utility payment, like for the sewer at this point?
No, in the last billing cycle, Rebecca did not add any late charges. And she won't be for this billing cycle.
Okay, so it'll last, then that'll last through the governor's emergency orders that expires June 4th or whatever?
Well, we haven't made that decision yet. We've just started the process.
Okay. Okay, I was just curious. I saw on the chat or on the listserv that several other communities were doing that, and I wondered if we were.
Yeah, there are a lot of communities that are doing that, and we felt it was important, given the time and the circumstance, to do that as well. So,
Thank you.
yeah, thank you. So obviously more to come as this unfolds. I think I told someone today that I think this is going to be a little bit more critical and a little bit more difficult than, locking down was tough, but it was pretty basic. This is what you have to do. Coming back, I think is a little bit different. There's more variables, and I know people are anxious to get going, but again, I'll repeat it again. We've got to be diligent with what we're doing. Still try and maintain our distances. Don't take unnecessary trips. Let's get through this for the next 2 months, and maybe we'll be to the point where we don't have to worry about it, at least till. We're always going to be worried about it until we get a vaccine, but maybe we can get this thing under control. So, all right. Unfinished business, it doesn't appear to be any, so let's move into new business. Tonight we're just asking for a transfer. Jeremy, are you on? I don't see Jeremy on. So this is a transfer request, transferring from the 400s to professional fees in the Warsaw Interurban TIF Fund. If you remember right, that TIF fund is a very low-performing TIF district. There's a lot of potential in that district, and that's essentially what we're trying to accomplish with this plan, with this architectural plan to revitalize Argonne Road, to try and attract business and investment. If you remember correctly, this was one of our stellar projects. We'd had some drawings and talked to a lot of the players up on Argonne Road. Certainly there's a variety of opportunity up there, but we felt it important, stimulated with discussions from the town of Winona Lake and KEDCO, to share the cost of a study and look at the opportunities and create a vision for the Argonne Road, so we can go out and start looking for investors and improvements to kind of create more of a gateway into the town of Winona, but also improve that connection that we worked so hard to complete between the town of Winona Lake and the city of Warsaw. And the Argonne Road project was but one of those. So to that end, there's a $28,000 study, and I'm going to go back here to give you the details. Anderson Bolander from Indianapolis was engaged to do the study. I'll read Jeremy's notes from the Board of Works. Warsaw, Winona Lake, and KEDCO are requesting approval to commission a study outlining redevelopment opportunities along Argonne Road. The area was a major part of the city's stellar a few years back and is also an important entrance into Winona Lake. With the various projects being designed and completed in the area, it is important we continue to explore the redevelopment of this corridor. The city has helped with the recent location of new businesses along the corridor and currently exploring the redevelopment of the old Arnold and Gatke properties. In addition to the improvements already made along Market Street, the bike trail and soon-to-be roundabout at Argonne and Winona, it is important we have a coordinated redevelopment effort with the Winona Lake. It's for this reason the city is collaborating with Winona Lake to explore the possible redevelopment plans along the corridor. So again, the total cost of the study with Anderson Bolander is $28,640. City of Warsaw, and is what we're looking at tonight, is committing $15,000. Town of Winona Lake will commit $10,000, and then KEDCO will pick up the additional $3,640. So, again, this is just a transfer resolution. The money has been in that TIF fund for quite some time. Again, that TIF fund doesn't generate much money, but I think if there was ever a good reason, a good use of that money, there's professional fees out of that TIF district, trying to improve this TIF district and kind of jumpstart that. It certainly makes sense to consider that. So, questions?
Has somebody already, they've been tearing down some of the old Arnold buildings now already?
No, the Arnold building has been somewhat secured, if you will. I know there's been people looking at it for potential reuse, but when we had that PCB spill, EPA came in and did a pretty thorough emergency remediation, and then dug back pretty deep into the environmental archives, if you will, of that property, and have kind of set it up. The city took ownership of the property, and now it's a matter of finding a developer and the city utilizing its position to try and remediate those environmental concerns to get the thing developed. MACOG created a environmental fund that would help with testing, which would allow, I think, phase 1 and phase 2 environmental testing. It was an EPA grant that MACOG was awarded, and we consolidated with the 4 counties, so we'll have opportunity to use some of those funds to look at the environmental side of that Arnold property. But to my knowledge, there's no demolition that's occurred. We know that there's environmental concerns there, and it will take an environmental type of cleanup. We can't just go and start knocking it down. So,
Mayor, what buildings are being considered there? There's the Arnold facility right on Argonne Road, and then you go to the north and you have the new gas station, and there's a facility, a big brown cinder block building just to the east of the new gas station. And then on the other side of the road, you have the old Milnot, for us old timers, the old Milnot building, and then of course the Gatke property. And is that the property generally, basically what we're discussing, or is there more that we're looking at, or
so this is Argonne Road from Center
from Center Street?
to Winona Avenue to the south, and then there's properties, pretty much property along there, but it does include the Gatke property, and then I even believe the property adjacent to the Gatke property along the tracks there. I thought there
To the east?
Yes, to the west.
Well, that's, that,
West of the
the Gatke,
West of
okay,
the- right.
okay, all right. And the idea of the study is to figure out best use, or?
All of the above to again, try and, I mean, we've got, obviously, the city owns the Gatke property, or, well, both the Gatke and the
Arnold.
property. The idea is to work with a developer and present to the developer a plan for redevelopment along there, and do a uniform development to create that corridor, to try and do a lot of facade improvements along the road. And then depending on the availability of property and land and partners, it's just bringing all the pieces together and saying, the developer comes in and saying, okay, this is what we've got, this is what it's going to take, and this is what your opportunities are. I don't think anything's off the table. I mean, if a developer came in and wanted a big chunk of that property, you know, but that's what this is about, to identify what the city's infrastructure is going to look like as far as roads and sidewalks and that type of thing, how that fits into the development, what the expectations are, the types of buildings that would be, the type of zoning that would be important. So, it's an area that's been underdeveloped, and it's an old industrial area that certainly the idea is to create new investment and more upscale type buildings and retail, if you will. But I don't think anything's really off the table.
That include the Milnot building?
Yes.
Okay, is that building being used for anything?
Yeah, that's, Warsaw Chemical owns that building.
They do,
And there's
okay.
storage in there right now.
I knew they did at one time, I didn't know
Right.
if they still.
Right. And all of the current owners are part of the discussion and will be a part of this planning process as well.
Good,
So, oh yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
Like I said, when we started our Stellar project, we spent time with all the landowners, and they were as much about improving that area as we were. So it's a collaborative project. It's just, again, trying to find the investment, the right type of investment and use for that property up there.
And I know we want to keep working on it. It's been an eyesore, and, I mean, even when Charlie was here, it was, a topic of discussion. And Greg Cobb has stepped up and put up his new gas station, which has been a vast improvement. And with that, I'll tell you, you and I both know that Greenway out there is getting more use today than ever. There are
Right.
more people using that woods than I've ever seen in my whole life. So that area is, I think, ripe for something.
And, basically, they're gonna come through and show some designs of things that could be.
Yeah.
Again, look at maybe, from what I read here, they're called catalyst projects, where, they'll take a building and show what could happen there, and really make it attractive as far as the vision, again, to try and stimulate that investment.
Well, I guess I want to see something happen there as much as anybody, but I remember Ball State came in and they did some stuff, and they had a vision for some of those buildings, but I would like to think that a professional group would come in and say, we have a couple ideas and we think we know who can do this.
Right.
Instead of just having, an aquaponics
Sure.
pond put in and.
Though interestingly enough, some of those Ball State projects shook out, and all in a great way. But, you're right, this is much more specific to that one area up there.
Good.
And I'm pretty excited about it. I think they'll do a good job and get some people thinking, and, it's just a matter of those sites, if you don't try and kickstart it, those sites are gonna sit there and continue to decay.
Oh, yeah.
And there's no doubt in my mind of that.
Yeah.
And we dodged a bullet with the PCB spill. Our police department and our guys at the fire department did a marvelous job of recognizing that situation and essentially really helping us dodge a bullet on that one. And we can't continue to, look at a good redevelopment area like that and have to worry about buildings that are environmental hazards and dilapidated. It doesn't make sense. So this is the opportunity to try and again, stimulate investment, come up with some ideas. And I don't think there'll be any shortage of ideas.
No. So you need a motion on this, do you?
Yeah, again, it's just a transfer ordinance to take that money in the TIF fund, 470, is it 475? Lynn?
Yes, it's 475.
And it'll go from the 400s from capital spending just into professional fees, which is what the 15,000 will be used for.
Well, if we do nothing, nothing will happen. So I'll make a motion to approve the transfer because I want to see something happen out there in my lifetime.
I'll second that.
All right. So a motion's been made and seconded. Are there others online that have any discussion or thoughts about this?
I think it's a good idea. And this is Diane. I think it's a good idea. We got a good start with the new gas station up there and with our trailhead up there, and I'd like to see us continue to develop that area.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, there's been a motion made and seconded. If there's no further discussion, we'll take a roll call vote. I'll start with Diane.
Aye.
Jerry?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Josh?
Aye.
Jack?
Aye.
Cindy?
Aye.
All right, I believe the ayes have it. Thank you. So, with that said, are there any other matters to come before the council?
I'd just kind of like to do an attaboy, attagirl type of thing, particularly for the Chamber of Commerce and Warsaw Community Development Corporation. I really feel like they have done an excellent job over the last several weeks in trying to support our businesses in the area. They put up this site, Facebook site, To Go Kosciuszko, support Kosciuszko. I look at it daily. I can't believe the number of people that respond to it. They also planned a virtual First Friday where they sold gift cards for the downtown businesses. So I just want to give them a little attaboy, attagirl for doing a great job to help support business.
Thank you, Cindy. I know I talked to Rob this afternoon, and they were very pleased with the number of gift cards they sold that supported the downtown merchants. That being said, Stafford family, I think gave away 400 gift cards out at their facility this weekend, and they were to 5 local restaurants, if I remember correctly. And that was a big job, very generous, and not only were they providing that generosity to the community, but they're also supporting those businesses. So, you know, that's what we're seeing all across this community are people that are willing to step forward and try and help those that are having some tough struggles. So, again, I just really want to think that we're going to come through this thing, but can't stress enough that we just need to keep our head down, and I think the finish line is in sight, but you know, we all need to remain diligent and not lose our guard. So with that,
I have something.
okay, Lynn?
So the tax abatements are due to the county by May 15th, or you have to approve them by May 15th. And we have received very little, and we had none for this meeting, which is the last meeting before May 15th. So to get, if they're approved after May 15th, it causes more paperwork, and there has to be a resolution or an ordinance, I forget which, for you guys to approve them. So I don't know if anyone would be interested in doing a special meeting if we get more in, or any in by, let's say, the 14th, or not.
Lynn, I think today on our webinar with the state that they talked about that date has also been pushed back to June.
Okay,
If I remember correctly.
Yeah, we haven't been made aware of that.
Right.
So.
There's a lot of dates that are being changed, and I shared the same concern. You and I talked about that, and when I heard that today, I feel like we got a little bit of breathing room, but
Okay.
the idea is
Yeah, I wasn't aware of that.
it's still coming up pretty quick, so we want to make sure we get all those abatements considered. So,
Well, this is Diane. I think I heard them say June 15th now.
yes,
All right, well, never mind.
No,
Yep.
it's a good point, though.
that was the date. No, it's a good point anyway.
Reminder to anybody listening.
So, all right, duly noted. You might check into that, but I'm almost positive that's
Yeah,
what they
I
said.
haven't gotten any correspondence from
Right.
anybody on that, so.
Okay,
And I think they said there was a new thing on, would that be DLGF or would that be,
I don't remember who
can't
made
remember,
it.
it's on one of their websites.
It's
Yeah.
The
Like we had 29 new directives.
the county assessors and auditor's office, so I don't know, I haven't seen anything from the DLGF or the State Board of Accounts. It'd probably be DLGF, I
Yeah.
think, I don't know.
Yeah, there's still a lot of uncertainty. I know today on our webinar, there was some discussion that the property tax returns could be impacted more than we think they might be as far as delays and amounts. You know, there was one suggestion that we may only collect 30 to 40% of what we normally do on time, and that could be problematic. So we're still trying to figure out what's going to happen. Our gas taxes, obviously there's the price of gas has been down, the number of miles traveled, and our MVH and LRS come from those specific sources, so we know we're going to be impacted. Our road funding money is going to be directly hit from that. So,
And I also know that our auditor's gonna make another distribution sometime in July after the June ones.
yeah, there'll just be a gap. Normally we get our distribution of our property taxes early June.
Late June is when we get our normal distribution, but then since the taxes are due
They've been
June
pushed back a month,
15th,
so everything's
then
going to
when
get
they
shifted.
get those all posted, then anything they get after that, they'll go ahead and send us.
And I know we've talked a little
Mayor,
bit. Yes,
this is Scott Royce. The DLGF website lists that Governor Holcomb's Executive Order 2023 extended the deadline 15th, and now it's extended until June 15th for personal property. A written extension is not required. They just must postmark their new forms prior to June 15th, on or before June 15th.
so that's the business personal property tax returns, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm looking for it has anything written about the tax abatements, but I'll check into that tomorrow too.
Right, and Scott, we were also trying to find details on the tax abatement. Typically, those SB 1s have to be in by May 15th, and I'm pretty sure I heard, and Diane was on the same webinar today, that the state has extended that another month. So,
I will look into that.
appreciate it. So again, I think I'd mentioned that our local option income taxes are going to be impacted. That may be delayed because we get what was figured 2 years ago is what we're receiving now. So we're 2 years behind on what we received. So if we have a down year this year, it may not impact us for another year or two. So that's kind of delayed. 55 to 60% of our revenue comes from business personal property taxes and or property taxes. About another 30%, 35% comes from the local option income taxes. So interestingly enough, different states have different formulas for how they fund local governments. Some communities, the gambling revenue is a huge part of their revenues. Made aware that some of the western states, the local governments rely on a big portion of mineral rights. So, we might be fortunate that we don't rely as much on income tax as we do personal property tax, but that mix will impact Indiana municipalities differently than it may be in municipalities in other states that are more reliant on other forms of tax. So, it's kind of a wait and see. All right, well, good discussion, and again, these things are evolving. I would ask that any of you council members certainly are welcome to jump on these AIM webinars, and they've been very beneficial because they're really looking at not only the kind of the late breaking benefits, if you will, and all the changes that are occurring, but they're really looking at things as they're evolving and actually being a part of how they're evolving. I've never seen anything change the way that it does and impact the way government's going to work for the next several years, as we're seeing right now. And we've got a strong organization with AIM, and I feel like that, it's important for all of us to understand, you know, I mean, look at, we don't have to worry about it. It's impacting our tax abatements, it's impacting our local taxes, our property taxes, our income taxes. I mean, you can't believe that in 8, 9 short weeks, how things have just turned completely upside down. And again, the bigger question is how long is this going to impact us? So we've got to certainly have to stay up with all this. All right. Anything else? Any other comments before we ask for an adjournment?
I would just try to emphasize to people that this is a very contagious disease, and you really need to be careful, and please be part of the solution.
All right. So the city attorney just sent me a note that Executive Order 2023 provided a 30-day extension in the filing of personal property tax returns and property tax abatements. So it's all in 20-23. All right. Thank you, Scott. All right. Is there a motion to adjourn? So moved by Jerry. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Cindy. All right. Thank you all.
Be safe.
Night.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Would you like to sign this, Joe?
I can.